So NFTs, which ones are blowing up and which ones are crashing? We got Luna crashing, Azuki going back up, all sorts of crazy things going on. And I'm going to give you my opinion, but it's not financial advice. You guys do what you guys want. So first thing in the NFT space, you've got two different kind of types. I'd say the major types. You've got your PFP, which is a picture for profile. And you got more of like your generative art stuff, your Fidenzas, your ringers, your archetypes, things like that, which are actually done by genuine artists. So I guess the differences, in my opinion, I could be wrong, often am, are going to be basically that, you know, for your PFP stuff is more of like for utilities. And I kind of view them more of like cars. Like, so I own a car dealership, so I think through it in terms of vehicles sometimes, just the way I do. And think about these utility tokens. They're promises for the future, right? This is your profile picture, either on your Twitter, your page, your handle, or in the metaverse in the future. This is going to be somehow linked to you, which who knows if the metaverse even actually exists in the future? Who even knows? I mean, they tried Second Life a long time ago. It didn't really pan out too well. But either way, you know, you've got, I would say, like, you know, your normal ones that come out every day, probably bicycles. No, more like bicycles, ain't even cars. There's a couple ones that, you know, operate like you know, buses, public transportation, things like that. But then you got some that are, you know, maybe okay. They're going to get you back and forth. They got you a Toyota, you got your Hondas. You know, these are going to be ones that, you know, that maybe have some sort of sustainability, you know, lazy lions, things like that people kind of like. But overall, I mean, they're not going to be your kind of upper tiers. You know, you're talking your upper tiers are going to be more of like your Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Apes. It used to be Azuki. I mean, that's kind of crashed a bit and back up. And I'd say, like, if you're going through like the list of cars, you know, you've got your Hondas, Toyotas, you know, your little, you know, 2-3 ETH PFPs. Then you've got more of your expensive, your Lexus, BMW ones. And then at the top of the list is probably, I put in the class of non-exotic, is probably most likely going to be Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? That's going to be Bored Ape Yacht Club, is going to be the top tier. And it's more of like the Teslas. So let's just say Tesla, like, you know, those are kind of the top tier in terms of like regular, genuine cars you would drive every day, right? Now you got the flip side. Now I'm leaving out CryptoPunks in this one because it's kind of a combination of a PFP, but at the same time art, because of the way that it's, you know, kind of been created through time. So it's a very unique one there. So I really don't know how to actually place that. So some people could use it as a PFP, and some people could use it as actual like generative art. So I'm gonna, in my opinion, I like them a lot. I don't own any, but looking to acquire one at some point. But that being said, that one's very unique, very historic, and that's where its appeal is. But it's not like Bored, which just keeps throwing you out. Like, so like, think about it like Tesla. They just keep throwing you new softwares, throwing you new more things. Oh, now you got full self-driving. Oh, it's just, well, now Bored Ape has a Mutant Ape with it, right? Now they have some sort of metaverse land, and now they have all this other stuff that keeps coming. That's why I view them as more of like the Teslas. You know, they keep giving you more stuff as you own them. But at the end of the day, you know, I mean, without continuing to give you stuff, you just got a picture of an ape. So on the flip side of that, then you've got like the genuine art, like these artists that are coming out with new creative ways of doing things in the generative space, merging man and machine and human. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I think back through like Picasso, and going back to his time when, I mean, he spent so much time trying to just show people a new alternative to standardized art, and he created and inspired so many new artists and created like a whole change in the world. And I thought I think it's really incredible what a lot of these guys are doing. You know, Tyler Hobbs with Fidenza. And you've got a handful of the big ones out there, archetype ringers. And I think, I'm not even sure if I've ever heard somebody say archetypes. I don't really know if I'm saying it correctly. Archetype. I believe it's archetype. You can look it up. You'll see. But anyways, It's actually genuine art. And the thing is, I view these more of like exotic cars. Your Lamborghinis, your Rolls Royces, your Bentleys, your Ferraris. That's the caliber you're dealing with this. For one, it's limited in supply. Okay, much more limited, right? So you're not looking at 10,000 or even in the last drop of land from Yuga, 100,000, 200,000 when they're done of things. I mean that 200,000 makes something more common. It's like something like a Toyota or a Honda, right? That's in my mind how that works. And that's what it looks like in terms of vehicles. And you just think about supply and quantity, right? That's why a Ferrari is worth more than that, because there's only so many produced every day. I mean every year. So it's very similar in that regards, why the prices are much higher in a lot of this generative art, and the floors don't drop and as much. You just had a Zuki go from, what was it, like 16 or 2. I technically, when it came out, it was like 2. I bought one because I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought it was really cool stuff and sold it. Should have held it and made a lot more money. But it is what it is. Like I said, I was just kind of getting into and learning more about the generative art space in the last 6 to 8 months, and the NFT space, I'm sorry, and more recently focused on the generative art as opposed to the PFP stuff. And so anyways, that being said, I view more of the actual artwork as exotic cars, and how wealthy people are. They collect exotic cars and they don't drive them very much. It's not like you're using them for anything. You're just kind of staring at all of them. You hang them up on your wall. I mean, that's why wealthy people, like I think it's Jay-Z, has like a $70 million art collection. You've got people that collect actual art because it maintains value, wealth. I mean, if you think about something, we all agree this painting's worth $100,000 and Bitcoin's price is $50,000 a Bitcoin. That's 2 Bitcoins. But if Bitcoin drops to 25,000, that artwork is still genuinely viewed as $100,000 in art, and the price oftentimes when I'm watching adjusts to kind of keep that in line, and now it's worth 4 Bitcoin. So it's a way to preserve your worth at times. And especially when crazy markets are going on right now with like Luna and everything crashing and Bitcoin's price crashing and such. But that's kind of how I view them. That's kind of how I view the actual generative art space. It's limited in supply. Floors don't change very frequently. You've got a lot more people that are collecting them for genuine art as opposed to collecting them for the free airdrops or the potential for it to be something cool in the metaverse in the future. The art is what it is. It's very subjective. It is what it is, though. It's not promising you anything but awe and beauty and inspiration, and it hits everybody differently, right? So what I like about it is that you're not promised anything except for what it is. I'm not buying a Fidenza piece thinking, oh, in the future, Tyler Hobbs is going to give me a piece of metaverse land, or maybe he's going to turn this Fidenza piece into a mutant Fidenza, and then give it a dog, and then give it a little puppet to go on the side of his shoulder, and then give it a parrot on the other side of the shoulder, and then maybe give him a hat at some time. Yeah, I'm not looking for any of that. And I think that's where a lot of people in the space go looking for these utilities, these back to forth kind of things. When Elon, I'm looking for you to give me my next update on my full self-driving or autopilot. I'm looking for these things. Otherwise, my Tesla's not worth as much as it was worth, and such like that, right? That's kind of how I view it in my mind, just because, like I said, I own a car dealership, so that's how it, that's the way my mind thinks. It tries to think of things in business terms, in terms of vehicles, and I try to like relate. And I feel like it's a relatable thing. Everybody drives cars. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people drive cars. But that being said, if you guys, do what you wish. I just feel as though in the genuine art space, over time, if we really think it through, 10 years in the future here, the artwork will probably outlast the utility tokens, because if the metaverse doesn't go as promised, I mean, you're really paying for a picture. And I've seen this too, a picture of like a character, and I've seen this too, like Bored Ape Yacht Club the other day, or maybe like a month ago, when they're coming out and they're, oh, we got the metaverse land, we're gonna give Bored Apes, all of them. I watched the floor price of boards go from 80 or 90 to 150 for a piece of land worth 2 ETH now. Like, that's the craziness of people just wanting something free, I guess. I mean, technically they're paying for it, but I mean, the craziness of the promise right now. I mean, if you got a coda or whatever it is, maybe you got a little bit more, money out of that one. Maybe but even at that point, I was watching the land. I was watching the land sell for like with a coda for like 25 to 30 ETH. Now, they drove the price from like 90 to 152 for a board, right? That's 60 Ethereum to claim something that is worth 30 at the most if you're lucky and you're one of the 10,000 lucky people that got a coda. Otherwise, the land was worth basically nothing. Now, pre-reveal, 6-7 ETH, okay, that's cool. And maybe at that point you bought, the board. It was, I mean, my strategy would have been, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, so I didn't have a strategy. I wasn't even paying attention to them. I was more studying the generative art space and really looking at the artwork and why it's important and significant to the NFT world and the NFT space. But yeah, no, I mean, I didn't even pay attention to it till after it was already kind of said and done. But I mean, one strategy would have been to sit there and buy, Bored Ape at 90 to 100 ETH if you could afford it, drop it on people right before the reveal at, 30, 130, 140 was the floor price at that point. I mean, make yourself your 30 to 40 ETH, boom, you don't even have to get that land. What's the best you're going to do on a piece of land like that? 100 ETH, maybe no way. I mean, you're going to get 30 was the best people were doing afterwards. I mean, if you already made that 30, get out of here, you know what I mean? Clear it. But in addition, I also want to, kind of give you guys a warning, like with the Luna thing going on and with now like the Azuki dropped from like 30 something down to like 8, back up to 15 for some reason. People are jumping back in on it. But it's because of, the creators, right? The creators came out and, either they screwed up with Luna, made a Ponzi, or with Azuki, they came back and, the guy has had multiple rug pulls on multiple projects. And I feel as though that's less likely and unlikely to happen in the artwork world, because you're running a project based off in the PFP space, based off the future utility of this thing, of maybe drops or using it in the metaverse. Whereas in the artwork space, it is what it is. You're paying for this piece of art, and that's it. You got no promise of the future of anything. Now, yeah, could the artist somehow come out and just start basically saying the most horrific stuff you've ever heard in your life, like a total POS? Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. I think it's highly unlikely. But at the end of the day, in this space, you're paying for the artwork based off of algorithms that were created through it, based off of years of putting in time, energy, effort into these projects that they actually, these images and pictures that they've created, blending man with machine. And in the PFP space, it's almost like the ICO stuff back in the day when Bitcoin was starting up. Everybody's just releasing an ICO because you're just releasing a coin to release a coin because you're going to money grab everybody. And I feel like that kind of happens a lot more in the PFP space because they're promising all this future utility. I think it was Hype Bears was try to jump in before Invisible Friends to have something walking on a screen, and then all of a sudden, oh well, we didn't actually get to make it walk, even though that's what we kind of promised you guys this whole time, right? I remember that was one of the ones I had looked into earlier on, like 6 months ago, and now here it is worth like 0.05 Ethereum when it was selling for 1, 2, 3 ETH at the time. Which, I mean, it's just you think about these kinds of scams and this money grabs, and you're not scamming people with art. The art is what it is, and it's not promising you anything. So with things going on with Luna, it's the same thing with that. I don't see many of these altcoins being worth much when they promise you so much. Don't get me wrong, I do dabble in a little bit. I've got enough to take some gambles, on some things, but it's all speculation, right? I don't look at it as going, oh, this is what I'm putting my future money in. I put my future money in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I put my speculative money in other projects. I don't put it in Luna. I think I bought Luna at one point because I saw a chart while I was looking at a trading chart, and it looks good. It looks good. I'm not gonna lie. It hit some of the technical indicators I was looking for. I think I got in at like 60 something and got out at like 70 something. It was a very quick trade. I was in it for a couple days and that was it. But otherwise, I didn't jump in anything else. There's a few other coins that I actually believe in long term. Polkadot being one of them. But that being said, you know, I don't have a lot of money invested in it. I think that, you know, there's a lot of potential for failure in this space, and crashing. And I try to risk manage that. And so I stick more with the big two, in my opinion. Now, everybody's different. You know, I could be wrong, often am, like I said. But that's just kind of wanted to share that information with you guys on how to view NFTs and view my space. And I actually thought of a really, you know, explained to my wife for so long. She thinks I'm crazy and stupid. And she's like, I'm going to screenshot it. I'll screenshot it. I'm like, and I really thought the example that Gary Vee gave was very, very great in terms of NFTs. You know, when discussing, you know, oh, we can just take a picture of it. And he's like, you know, you can go downstairs and take a picture of my Lamborghini, but it doesn't mean you own it. And I thought that was really telling. It really kind of, you know, added more, I don't know if I want to say confidence, added more, I'm terrible with words, especially big ones. So, you know what I'm trying to say. It added more confirmation to what I'd been, you know, learning and understanding about them over the past 6 to 8 months. So, and why they're important. And because, you know, 3 years ago when they were coming out, I was like, I'd take a screenshot of that. I ain't buying that. But, but now I'm fully on board and truly believe in them. And yeah, in the future, it might be worth nothing, but I'm not spending, you know, crazy money on them. I'm spending money that I can afford to lose. Right. And worst case scenario, I have a beautiful picture on my wall. In terms of that, I'm not looking for a beautiful emoji on my profile picture though. So that being said, guys, I just want to give you that, you know, share my information on that, share what I learned about it over the time in the space, and, you know, give some people, you know, a little bit more information if they don't currently already have it. But yeah, with that, I appreciate it, guys. Hope to give you some more information in the future.